Hi, I'm Cautex, and literally 1 minute ago, Wowhead posted a bunch of Datamined spell changes and talent tree speculation things for the Dragonflight Alpha, and I looked at like 3 of them, said, this is really cool, I might as well record something because I'm going to talk about it anyway, so let's do a bit of a live react. Let's just go down the list and talk about what's here, and what some of this means, or at least what it might mean. Obviously, this is purely speculation because we don't have the talent trees yet, so let's see what we got. All right, so starting off with the speculated warrior general class talents, we have a bunch of sort of like standard filler stuff, like, okay, increases versatility. We have Berserker Shout, which is really just Berserker Rage. This implies to me that Berserker Rage might be a talent rather than it being a baseline ability. I'm okay with this, though it is one of those things where, like, when you need it, it's amazing. When you don't need it, you just never hit the button. That's fine. Brutal Vitality is making a return. It is currently a conduit, and, well, it's going to increase your Ignore Pain by a percentage of the damage that you deal. This is pretty good. This makes Ignore Pain have more value. More crit, fine, whatever. Increases the damage of Sealed Slam and Slam. This is a little weird, considering that at least currently, I don't believe Prot's using Slam, and I know that obviously Arms isn't using Slam, and neither is Fury, so a little strange, but hey, fine, whatever. Cacophonous Roar, making a return. Definitely more of a PvP thing, I would assume, but yeah, not bad. Concussive Blows. Cooldown of Pummel reduced by 1 second. Successfully interrupting an enemy increases your crit chance by 5% for 10 seconds. Can only happen every 30 seconds. That's really good. This is clearly something you'd want to talent into on a fight that has a lot of interrupts. Really good. Yeah, I'm cool with this. This is so far looking pretty good. Dauntless Duelist is coming back. Good for single target fights. A bit of free damage reduction too, but the main thing is just, hey, 3% more damage adds a multiplier. Then we got Parry increased by 3%, Mastery increased by 2, increases damage while dual wielding, Stamina, Armor, and Haste. Okay, Stamina by 5%. Now here's where I said that I wanted to throw on the recording, which is Execute. Implies maybe that it's going to be a talent. Kind of weird, but hey, whatever. The big thing here is that only usable on enemies who are above 80% health or below 20%. That's Condemn, everybody. So it looks like we're getting the Condemn sort of playstyle back if we want it. That's really cool. Condemn was a lot of fun. And yeah, so that's pretty cool. And then we have another really interesting one. This seems like it's going to be a cooldown. It doesn't show that it's going to be a cooldown, but exploit the weakness. Tactician's chance to trigger is increased as if you spent 260% more rage. Assuming that this is a cooldown and not just like a passive, because that's too good as a passive unless they massively nerf the baseline of Tactician, which that would be dumb. So assuming that this is a cooldown, what this is going to effectively mean is that we're going to be able to have a lot more Tactician procs during our burst windows. We're going to probably be able to fill out all of their GCDs with as many overpowers as we can during an Avatar and during Colosso Smash and things like that. This is a really good thing because it's like the worst feeling in the world when, like, you got Avatar up and you're just sitting there spamming Slam hoping for a Tactician proc but you're just not getting any. Yeah, so that's really interesting. Definitely something to keep an eye on. See if that actually shows up on the talents. Fast footwork. Don't sleep on movement speed, guys. Movement is damage. In any fight where you actually are going to not be on the boss 100% of the time, movement is damage. Because the more you're on the boss, the more GCDs you have on that boss, which means more damage. Movement is damage, so this is really good. I'm a big fan of movement increases. All right, increases strength, armor, crit, fine. This seems wrong. Frenzied Flurry, while using two-handed swords or axes, your critical damage is increased by 100%, and your Execute has a 100% increased crit chance. Those numbers are wrong, but the idea behind it is really interesting to me, because it's only with two-handed swords or axes. So I'm assuming that we're going to run into something on the side of like getting maces that does some other effect, and that could be very interesting. That could be very interesting. Oh, the old classic talent of Impale is coming back. So increasing critical damage by 10%. Big fan of that, especially if we're doing crit heavy builds. Furious Blows, damage of Bloodthirst Slam and Steel Slam and Whirlwind increased. Okay, fine. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Hit back. Where were we? There we go. Honed Reflexes, cooldown of Pummel, Shield Slam, Overpower, and Bloodthirst reduced by 1 second. That seems really strong. Pummel seems to be the outlier, which, by the way, if you're keeping track here, that would mean that if... Where was it? Yeah, Concussive Blows and Honed Reflexes, that's 2 seconds reduced off of Pummel's cooldown. That's pretty cool. But reducing the cooldown on Overpower and Bloodthirst, that's huge. I mean, obviously, Shield Slam is also probably huge, but I don't really play Prot, so I can't comment on how good that actually is, but that's probably also just, like, really huge. Oh, Inspiring Presence is making a return. All right, there's our conduit. Really good for whenever you're raiding, and you just need it. Yeah, fine. Leech. All right, big fan. But, oh, that's one-handed weapon specialization, though, so obviously, unless for some reason Single-Minded Fury is good, won't be seeing that. Tanks will use that. Tanks would use that. Overwhelming Rage. Your maximum rage is increased by 30. If Fury can get that might be interesting, especially like if we assume that Rampage is still going to cost 80 rage, or even if it costs 75, that's fine. But that gives the opportunity to do a lot of shenanigans with like maximizing enrage uptime, which I think was a very fun playstyle, and I really like that sort of min-maxing of that. So that is definitely something that will need to be played with. It also kind of depends on how far out of the way that is for like a Fury Warrior or an Arms Warrior, but that's okay. Okay. Very cool. Pain and Gain. Oh, this is the conduit. So basically whenever you take damage, you heal for a little bit of your life. Okay, cool. Get some haste. Get some weapon physical damage. Get some armor. Oh, Seismic Reverberations is coming back. So if you hit more than 3 targets, you get an extra hit of Whirlwind. Arms gets 80%. Prot gets it for Whirlwind and Revenge, just like the legendary. So okay, that's pretty cool. Sharpen Blades while using two-handed swords or axes. That again, your critical damage is increased by 20% and execute as a 10% increased crit chance. Okay, so this is just Frenzied Flurry, but with like more reasonable numbers. I mean, those are still big numbers, like 10% increased crit and 20% crit damage. That's, oh boy, that's large. That's large. And that, I mean, 10% execute damage, or crit chance rather, that's big. That could be really, really big. Shattering Throw, okay. This tells me, at least suggests, that it's going to be a talent, which I'm very much okay with, because like if you do raiding content, which is my main thing, think about how many times over the course of this expansion where you've really needed to or wanted to use Shattering Throw. I can think of exactly one encounter, which would be Kael'thas, in Castle Nathria during the shields on Mythic. Like, okay, that's just because he was a shield breaking through that. Like, okay, it was okay to use Shattering Throw there, but like, otherwise you just don't hit that button. So I'm very much okay with that being a talent. But here's the big one. Okay, Signet of Tormented Kings is supposedly going to make a return. I was a big fan of this playstyle. Big fan. So let's go, guys. Let's have it again. Nice. Siphoning Strikes. Okay. Get some Leech. Nice. Spell Reflection as maybe a talent. Honestly, I think you'd grab this all the time because it's a short CD, short duration, but having the chance to deflect spells or at the very least take 25% reduced damage, that's big. That's really big, and especially because it's off the GCD. It's so free. Unless it's like way out of the way, you're probably going to take this talent. Storm of Steel and Storm of Steel. So this is probably like a choice talent. Option 1 is Ravager lasts 30% longer, or whenever an enemy dies during Bladestorm, extend its duration by however long seconds. That's actually really interesting, especially for AoE fights. That's that could be really cool, like trying to time when you Bladestorm to maximize that effect. That could be interesting. All right. That, like, there could be some very interesting plays, because the thing is that obviously, like, if everything's dead, who cares how long your Bladestorm lasts? So, like, if ads are sort of trickling in and they're dying progressively, that would be the optimal scenario for this to happen. So you could get, like, just keep sustaining your Bladestorm. It depends on how much the duration is added, but, like, there's some there. There's something to that. Thunderclap as a talent? That doesn't seem right. I don't feel like Thunderclap's going to be a talent, because otherwise, like, does that mean Fury and Arms can take that? Because if this is general class talents. Huh. That's odd. But if we can take it, hey, free AoE damage. Titanic Throw. It's basically... Oh, okay, so it's Heroic Throw, but it does damage to 5 nearby enemies. Good for, like, Mythic Plus, pulling just some initial threat on AoE targets. Good. Always good for tanks. Two-handed spec. Increased damage with two-handed weapons. Increased versatility. Okay, fine. All right, speculated Arms Warrior talents. Let's see what we got. Damage of Slam and Whirlwind increased by 25%. Okay, boring, but good. Damage to Deep Wounds, Rend, and Thunderous Roar. I don't remember what Thunderous Roar is, but that's probably going to be a thing. Bleed effect increased by 15%. Bloodletting, Deep Wounds, Rend, and Thunderous Roar again. Last 25% longer. So we're going to get something called Thunderous Roar. I don't know what that is. If you know in the comments, let me know, because, I mean, I could probably search it up, but not doing that right now. Anyway, Blunt Instruments. While using two-handed maces or polearms. Okay, so this is going to be the inverse to the sword one, which was execute, or crit damage and execute crit chance. The duration of Colossus Smash is increased by 30%. Damage in duration. Okay. Off the top of my head, I'm going to say that, like, the two-handed swords one and axes, that just seems better, because that's damage all the time. Just 20% crit damage all the time, and 10% crit chance on execute. That's just a lot of fun. I don't know. Math will need to be done. Math will definitely need to be done. But that's okay. This is interesting. There is, however, one problem, which is the fact that at least this implies that we're going to have more choices with the weapons that we get from content. Because, like, for example, in Sepulchre, the only two-handed weapons that warriors can use that drop are maces, right? We get a mace off of Cautex, or we get the mace off of, I think it's... Oh, no, never mind. I'm an idiot. There is a two-handed sword off of the Prototype Pantheon. So, okay, never mind. I'm an idiot. I am an idiot. So, yeah, the main thing is just whatever weapon you get, this is probably going to need to be balanced. Or not probably. It will need to be balanced. I think this might need a buff to be compared to at least the numbers that we're seeing on Sharpen Blades. But who knows? Anyway. Oh, hey, we get Mortal Kombat back. Mortal Kombat is coming back as Exhilarating Blows. Myrtle Strike has a 20% chance to instantly... Oh. That's not Mortal Kombat. I can't read. That is definitely not Mortal Kombat. Has a 20% chance to instantly reset its own cooldown. The one problem that I see with that is that you're going to need to have a lot of rage banked up. Which, I mean, okay. We have... Where was it? Overwhelming Rage. That gives credence to taking that, so that way you can bank up more rage. So that way, like, when it procs, you can just slam it. You can just absolutely just rip Mortal Strike after Mortal Strike. So, okay. Very interesting. Fatality. Your Mortal Strike abilities against enemies above 30% health have a very high chance to apply Fatality. When an enemy falls below 30%, your next execute inflicts an additional 100% of attack power, physical damage per stack. Ooh. Okay. Oh, so that's like Impcod. That's like Impod from Eternal Palace. But it's attached to your execute. So the longer the fight goes on, the more Mortal Strikes that you get, especially like with the chance to reset and whatnot, that means that you're going to just get an absolutely giga execute when the boss hits 30%. That's cool. That's really cool. That I'm a big fan. Big fan. That's okay. Lots of fun to be had with this, I think. Lots of fun to be had with that. All right, moving on. Fueled by Violence. Hey, it's coming back. All right, cool. Improves Sweeping Strikes. Just increases the duration. Okay, nothing special, but good. Merciless Bone Grinder's back. Hey! Hopefully it applies to Fury as well. The fact that it's in the Speculated Arms Warrior talents, that's unfortunate, but... Oh, it applies to Cleave too, so when Bladestorm ends, Whirlwind and Cleave deal X% increased damage for 9 seconds. This could make taking Cleave a much more viable option, right? Because Whirlwind as arms is kind of stinky, at least this expansion it has been, except for when you have Merciless Bone Grinder. And Cleave has not really been taken because it's just like, why not? Who cares? But that's interesting. That's interesting. Now, Sinful Surge is coming back. And while we never really ran it as arms this expansion, I'm not opposed to this. Because if this is not out of the way, if this is not like a capstone talent, this is something like just kind of off on the side that's not really difficult to get to, this could be really good. Especially when we have Fatality, right? Because it looks like we're... Right? Execute's going to be a big thing. Okay, especially, right? You add that, and then you add Sharpen Blades, execute crit chance, so you're going to want to execute more. Okay. I'm cool with this. For what we have, I mean, there's no way that this is the extent of the Arms Warrior tree. There's obviously going to be more. We need to know what Thunder's For is. We got to know a whole lot more. But, like, what's there? That's pretty cool. At least in my opinion, I think that's pretty cool. All right. Let's move on and look at Fury, the speculated Fury Warrior talents. Cadence is coming back. Never really used it this expansion, but the idea is good, right? Hit Bloodthirst, get a stacking haste buff. Pretty cool. Stacking up to 5 times 5% haste multiplied, by the way. That's significant. It is a haste multiplier. Cold Steel Hot Blood's back. It is back. Bloodthirst critical strikes generate 4 additional rage and inflict a gushing wound that leeches damage over 6 seconds. Okay, these two things sort of imply on its own that so in BFA it was basically you had to decide between Bloodthirst and Raging Blow, you would pick Bloodthirst, and that was because of Cold Steel Hot Blood, right? We prioritized Bloodthirst over Raging Blow. Then this expansion, in Shadowlands, we would prioritize Raging Blow over Bloodthirst. With these two talents, this suggests a switch back to that Bloodthirst priority sort of system. But we have more talents, so hey, let's take a look at what we got. All right, we got Deafening Crash. Increases Siegebreaker damage and duration. Pretty good. Obviously, that means that Siegebreaker is making a return. Not really surprised to see that. We'll have to see. That's just a math question of where it is and how good it is compared to other things, but Siegebreaker is not a bad ability. All right. Depths of Insanity is coming back. Not really surprised. This sort of implies to me that this is a 1-point talent. Big fan of that being a 1-point talent, not a 3-point talent, but hey, who knows? We'll have to see. Focus and Chaos. Your auto attacks have no penalty to hit from dual wielding during Enrage. Oh. So either, I think what this means is that while you're enraged, the mischance of your offhand. Well, no, of both of them, no penalty to hit. I think what this means is that during Enrage, you can't miss with your auto attacks. I could be wrong here. I mean, put your theories in the comments. But I think what that's saying is that while you're enraged and dual wielding, you get no penalty to hit chance because your offhand has a higher percent chance to miss than your main hand. So this might just apply to your offhand, but it seems like it's also applying to your main hand too. But what that means is that that's going to increase our rage generation. If I'm interpreting this right, that's going to increase our rage generation, and it's going to smooth things out. It's going to make it must feel way less bad, because there's nothing worse than getting a double miss while you're enraged, and you're just waiting for your next GCD so that you can then get your next Rampage off. It feels terrible. That seems really, really good. That seems really, really good. I'm big fan. Big fan. Hey, look, another buff to Bloodthirst. Okay, so again, kind of implying that they want us to have more of that Bloodthirst first, or Bloodthirst priority sort of playstyle. I'm okay with this. I'm very much okay with this. It makes things a little bit more consistent. Makes it a little bit more consistent. Improved Raging Blow. Okay, this is just kind of how Raging Blow is now. 2 charges, 20% chance to reset its own instantly. Okay. Improved Rampage just makes Rampage do Rampage things. Okay, fine. Invigorating Fury, Enrage Regen lasts longer. Okay, fine. Juggernaut increases execute damage dealt. Okay, not crit, but damage dealt by execute by 3% for 8 seconds, stacking up to 99 times. Oh boy. They really want to lean in on Warriors executing this expansion, it seems like. And I'm okay with this. I'm very much okay with this. Right? And, that's... I really like that. I really like the difference between what they're doing for arms and what they're doing for Fury. Because think about it, right? With Fury, your damage profile is benefiting for the longer that execute phase goes on, right? So the more percentage of the fight that is spent in execute range is the more time that you spend in execute range, the better that this gets and the more damage you're going to do, right? Whereas with arms, you want to spend most of the fight above 30% health and then smash just an unbelievably huge execute and then just be done with the fight, right? You want to spend more of your time. So if more of your time is being spent above 30%, then arms is going to have the little bit better outcome because of Fatality. But if you're spending a lot more of your time in the execute range, then Fury is going to overtake arms. So that just gives a little niche, a niche for both specs. I really like that. That's really cool. That's really cool. All right, next. Pulverize. Onslaught extends the duration of Enraged by 4,000 seconds. Okay, that's obviously wrong. And generates more rage. Extends the duration of Enrage. The thing is that can be really good depending on what the sort of baseline rate of rage generation is, because our rage generation dictates how often we're going to hit Rampage, which dictates how often we're going to be enraged. So if we're not enraged a whole lot, then getting extra enrage is huge. So this is simply a math problem. This is a math problem, but it makes Onslaught more attractive, maybe. But I mean, we literally never took it for the entirety of this expansion, so they got to do something. I guess this is what they're going with: make it do more rage and have it extend in rage. The question that I have though with that is that what happens if you extend it? So let's say that this is 4 seconds, right? you Rampage, you get enraged, so you have a 4-second enrage, and then you Onslaught right away. So that puts it up to 8 rage. And let's say you have Recklessness up, so you get a whole bunch of rage out of this, and then you're able to Rampage again. What happens to the enraged duration off of the second Rampage? Is it going to just add time, or is it going to get eaten? I feel like you'd probably get eaten, because if it's just adding time, like if you just add enraged duration every single time you Rampage, like that's insane. Like that's literally insane, because like Furious would scale too well once we're able to like especially during Recklessness and things like that. Like we'd be able to bank up just really long durations of enrage. That just seems too good. So like I don't know how this is going to actually play out. Like we're just gonna have to wait and see. Oh, interesting. Raging Armaments giving an additional charge on Raging Blow, so that way it appears that you would have 3 charges, just like you have now with the tier bonuses. That could mean that you might have to decide. I mean, it depends on where these things are placed, but like, there's a world where you have to decide between choosing a Bloodthirst priority sort of build, or you take a Raging Blow priority sort of build, right? That's interesting. In terms of just playing, I was always a bigger fan of the Bloodthirst priority playstyle, but that's just personal preference, not because it was like a better playstyle. I don't know, I liked it more. But that's interesting. The fact that like we might either be able to have both, all of that, so that way maybe we're just never gonna if Bloodthirst is the priority, and we have 3 charges of Raging Blow. The one thing I'm not seeing though is a filler. I'm not seeing a filler, so we might still be whirlwinding as a filler, which is kind of dumb. I don't know. We're gonna have to see. And Vicious Contempt is making a return. Below 35% health, which, I mean, hey, if it's a Bloodthirst priority sort of thing, and we're doing big, huge executes because of Juggernaut, then again, execute spec. Interesting. All right, speculated Prot Warrior talents. I'm going to go over these really quickly because I'm not a Prot Warrior guy. This ain't my area of expertise. So Annihilator, okay, just gives your auto attacks a chance to reset Shield Slam. That seems good. Armor to the Teeth, strength from your armor. That's huge. That's big. You'd like to see that. Shield Block has 2 charges. Great. Resetting Shield Slam again. Great. You love to see it. You want to spam that Shield Slam. Always good. And then, hey, look, the wall's coming back. Right? So spamming Shield Slam gives you more Shield Wall. Always good. Shield Wall gains 1 additional charge. I have a feeling that this is going to be like a choice talent. You either choose the wall or choose Unbreakable Will. And I'm fine with that. Like I think that's an interesting choice, and it's going to depend on the encounter. Yeah, that seems good. It's probably going to end up being the wall, but depending on the fight of timings of when things happen, you might need to take Unbreakable Will. But hey, and also the effect of party members is kind of nice. And then hey, Unnerving Focus is making a return. Last Stand increases your rage generation by 30%. All right, class changes. All right. Reduce the cooldown of Die by the Sword to 2 minutes. Big fan of this. That way they don't have to implement the conduits. Jeez, I'm having a brain fart. Okay, they don't have to implement the conduits. And it also says that they like the pacing of those conduits. They just don't have to redo that. That's fine. Myrtle Strike is getting a buff. Okay, makes it hit harder. This is cool and all, but we just don't this is sort of meaningless in a vacuum. Overpower. Okay, so they're just baking in how Overpower actually works into its original effect, rather than giving it changes as you level. It's just, hey, this is how it works. Fan of that. Avatar generates more rage now. Okay. What that suggests to me is that they are definitely going to be playing around with Arms Warrior Rage Generation during the alpha and beta. They're doing, like, they're not just going to leave it like where it's at. They're going to play around with how much Rage Generation Warriors are making, like how much Rage Warriors are generating, to try to tune it better, to make it play better. Big fan. Big fan. Deadly Calm. Okay, they got rid of the maximum of 30 rage because they put that up here in Overwhelming Rage. Fine. I still think that Deadly Calm is kind of dumb. The next 4 abilities by that. Okay, so you spam execute a whole bunch of times, whatever. The problem is that you're not spending rage, which means you're not getting Tactician procs, which means you're not buffing your Myrtle Strikes, which means, like, it's just kind of weird. I don't know. It's just weird. Oh yeah, they're definitely messing with Rage Generation, this expansion. Because, okay, Skull Spitter gets a damage buff, and they changed the cooldown to be longer. Still 20 rage, but they're messing with, effectively, how much rage per GCD they're expecting you to generate. That's interesting. That's definitely something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. Stormbolt gets a little damage buff. Okay, fine. Dragon's Roar is getting changed. What do they do to it? Okay, let's see. Roar explosively. I actually have no idea what they did to it. Roar explosively, dealing 170% of attack power, physical damage to enemies within 12 yards, deals reduced damage to secondary targets. Dragon's Roar. This is the same tooltip. They just, like, redid it? I don't know. I guess, okay. They took away the protection and fury differentiation. It's just the same for both, I guess. But, I mean, come on. Deals reduced damage to secondary targets. Get rid of that. Just get rid of that. Or make it do, like, a little bit less. Not, like, a massive amount less. Please. Because, like, in its current state, it's just a single target ability. And it's kind of dumb. But whatever. Frothing Berserker. Your abilities that cost rage have a 20% chance to immediately refund, not 20 rage, but 20% of the rage spent. That kind of a... Oh. I think that they're doing this because of Ignore Pain. That would be my guess. Or maybe somehow, like, this is kind of like they're giving this option because it's going to be a talent somewhere else, and other specs are going to get it. Because really, the only two things that cost rage. Oh my god! I'm gonna have to try this out on live. Because if this is true, you could theoretically generate rage. You could net benefit from rage by hitting Hamstring, because Hamstring costs, like, I think, like 10 rage, and if it gives 20 rage, you would generate rage by hitting Hamstring. I'm gonna mess around with this on live, and at least assuming that I'm not an idiot, which that's entirely possible, but okay, huh? All right. Anyway, Onslaught, brutally attack, buff the damage, 25 rage now, and increases its cooldown to 18 seconds. I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see. We're gonna have to wait and see, especially with that talent that makes it extend in rage. I mean, we literally never used it at all this expansion, so who knows? Good that they're buffing the damage. Kind of weird that they're, like, if they want us to use it, don't increase the cooldown. But maybe it's too good with the extending of the rage thing. But who knows? Siegebreaker gets a buff. Still does the same thing. Okay, fine. Prot changes. Just fixing some little thing with Demo Shout. Okay, fine. Last Stand is now 2 minutes. Okay, great. Shockwave got a pretty sizable buff. 8% up to 40% of attack power. So, bigger AoE damage. Good. Good. Big fan. More damage is always better. doing something to Dragon's Roar. Not sure exactly what, but they're doing something to it. Bolster, down to 10 seconds from a minute. Well, they did, okay, fine, I guess, because they reduced it to 2 minutes. So now it's a minute and 50 seconds. I feel like this should probably be down by 30 seconds, so it's like a 90-second cooldown. But I don't know. I don't play Prot, so who knows? Maybe that's huge. But the main thing is that it gives you shield block for its duration, that's pretty big. They buffed Unstoppable Force, so 50% increased damage of Thunderclap. Okay, great. General. Okay, almost done. Almost done. Charge gets a damage buff, and it generates 20 rage instead of 10. Okay, cool. Cool. Ooh, Challenging Shout has its cooldown reduced to 2 minutes. This is great because now it has the same cooldown as Die by the Sword, and during progression, being able to die by the sword and then AoE taunt is huge. Like, it can save your raid in a lot of scenarios, and it's really cool, and it makes you seem like a pro. So, big fan of this. This is interesting. That's interesting. Heroic Leap gets a little bit of a buff. They basically doubled its damage a little bit more than that. But everything else is getting buffed, so we don't know really what this means. I'd like to see it be even more, but that's just me. Ignore Pain. Okay, cooldown reduced from 12 seconds to 1 second. So now you can just spend a rage to not die if you want to spend your rage to not die. This is fine. It's not like oh, I burned up my Ignore Pain, so now I got nothing. So that's cool. I like that. Hopefully, Furies is going to cost 40 rage. Wait a second, that says 35 rage. Okay. Well, hopefully, it'll be 35 rage for everybody. You can only hope. Who knows, though. Heroic Throw gets a damage buff. Other than that, nothing. Shield Slam now just generates rage by default. Okay. Yeah. Cool. And that's what we got. That's what we got. Lots of interesting things here. Again, this is all speculation. This is purely Datamined stuff. We got to see what is going to happen when they go live with the talent trees. But in the meantime, what do you think of all this? I think it's really cool. Definitely excited to see where some of this goes. But as always, tell me your thoughts about this in the comments. If not, tell me why my opinions are dumb. And lastly, I just want to say thank you for watching this video and subscribe for more.